And a good lunchtime to you. I'm Ted Langdell, and we are live from the Madden House, or the Little John House. This is the house that's over by, where are we, Marni?
We are in the development where Winco is, Starbucks, Big Lots, right on the corner of 99 and Franklin.
Right.
Yep.
And this particular residence was presented to the city of Yuba City by employees of Wearmart, who had acquired the property when they acquired the property here, and ultimately transferred it to Yuba City. And for a while, it was the home of the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation.
It was, and Parks and Rec was in the building before. And this is our second go-round in the building. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we were here 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And there was a time that we had two locations here and then on D Street in Marysville. It was Golden Pacific Bank. And
right,
then,
I remember that.
Then we were there, and now Freedom Home Health is there. And so this is our only location now.
All right.
Back where we came from.
Well, I am Ted Langdell, and we are talking to Marni Sanders, who's the Executive Director of the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce. And like we usually do during Lunch with Langdell, we want to find out about the people that we're talking to, because that's an important reason about why they're here and they're doing what they're doing. And we'll talk a little bit later about what's going on with the Chamber, but we wanted to find out more about Marni Sanders. So, Marni, where were you born?
I was actually born in Wisconsin,
Okay.
a little town called Fort Atkinson.
Where is that near?
At Madison.
Okay.
So that would be a
good
point of
Madison.
reference. But I was just a wee gal, moved to California with my mother back when I was probably just a baby. We lived in San Francisco and Stockton and then Redding. And then we finally landed here in the Yuba-Sutter area when I was in 8th grade.
So, why?
Why? Well, because my dad. My dad had one of those jobs that just kind of moved around from location to location for some time. So, yeah, we ended up here. My dad worked for Marysville Medical Clinic back in the late 80s, early 90s. A little fun fact, my dad was actually a board member with the chamber back in the late 80s and 90s, and was part of Marysville Rotary. And
what was his name?
Del Gray.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And
I recognize that name.
They moved to Oregon, and they've lived there for nearly 30 years now. And
So you were here through what, high school?
I was here through high school up until my late 20s, and I was married to somebody in the military, and then we moved out of the area, and I lived in Minnesota for 17 years, and came back about 8 years ago.
So what did you do in Minnesota? What was the reason for being there?
I raised children. I went to school, and those are both big jobs right there. Yep. I am a graduate of the University of Minnesota.
Oh.
So I was a little late bloomer when it came to education, and raising my children. And then I ended up working in nonprofit. So I worked at a transitional housing organization called Hands of Hope. Oh my gosh, now I'm drawing a blank. It was not Hands of Hope, but it was an organization right downtown Minneapolis. And we had a soup kitchen and served homeless and the poor, provided transitional housing. I've also worked at an inner city school, fundraising for that school. And just there were a couple other organizations that I worked for in Minnesota. I ultimately ended up being the executive director of a foundation at a community college in Minnesota, Minneapolis Community and Technical College, before coming out here. So I have a pretty extensive background in nonprofit fundraising.
So what brought you back to the Yuba-Sutter area?
Well, a big life change. Let's just leave it at that, Ted. Okay. Came back 8 years ago. I will tell you, I never thought that I would come back to Yuba-Sutter. I hear young people, remember I left in my 20s, and I hear young people now saying, well, there's nothing to do, I want to get out into the world and see what's out there. I don't want to be stuck in Yuba-Sutter. And I had that same attitude. And leaving Yuba-Sutter, I said, I'm never going back. There's really nothing there for me. Well, here I am. I'm back. And my perspective has changed dramatically. And I love Yuba-Sutter, and I love the opportunity to work at the chamber and do what I do, and I get to know the community better, businesses, the people in the community.
What changed for you between the time you left, the time you thought about coming back, and what changed for you personally?
Well, I think it's stages in our lives, number one, and being younger, having children, just more centered on home. And when I came back, I really wanted to get involved in the community. I actually landed a job at the Appeal Democrat when I first got back here, and they had been a member of the chamber, and so I joined the chamber as an ambassador, and I started to meet people, and my view of the Yuba-Sutter area started to change, and I started to see all the wonderful things about Yuba-Sutter. And so I think just really becoming part of community changed how I saw Yuba-Sutter. And we have an incredible community, incredible people doing good things in our community. And I just love that I get to call Yuba-Sutter my home now. And I never would have thought that 30 years ago.
Have you run into other people who feel the same way, who have gone and come back again?
I have. And I think leaving home gives you a good perspective too. That notion of the grass is always greener on the other side isn't necessarily true. And maybe growing up in a small town, you think you want to be in the big city, where all those amenities are at your fingertips, and I can go to theater, and I can do all these great things. When in the reality is, at least was for me, I had all of those things at my fingertips, working in Minneapolis, but did I ever really take advantage of it? No. And I just, I realized that I really appreciated a small town feel much more so than the big urban life. And so I think getting out from an area and then coming back can really help lend some great perspective.
When you left Yuba-Sutter, what do you remember the area being like?
I don't, I didn't really know that there was as much available then. It just kind of, again, I was raising my kids. I was basically a stay-at-home mom. There was a new lived out, and they were new homes then, off of McGowan Parkway, so out in Linda Olivehurst area, and so that was sort of my world, and I didn't really venture out from that much, and so it was very small here. For me, there didn't seem to be much, so it's dramatically changed for me. I mean, this job is my social life. It really is. I mean, I have so many friends from being in this job, and so many connections to really, my social life. I actually search for time to just be at home and to have that quiet time.
Well, I know you were, a couple of years ago, you were going through in the fall a kitchen remodel and some other things, and it sounds like you've been able to spend a little bit more time at home.
Yes. Well, we all got to spend a lot of time at home, didn't we, during COVID? Yeah. more than we wanted, but. Yes, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for finding that time for balance, but we're very busy here most of the time, and it's trying to find that downtime. But like I said, my social life and my work life, they kind of bleed together. They really do, because a lot of the people that I work with, I call friends, which I am not complaining about. I think it's wonderful. I really, really do. It's been a real joy.
So what's different now between the time you left, the time you came back, and today?
Well, I think I've said it. I mean, the biggest difference in my personal life, how I view things.
Sure. How do you view the area? How do you view yourself?
Well, I have grown a lot from being in this position. I really have, and I've built some wonderful relationships with people in the community. I have some incredible mentors that have really helped me. I said that my background was in nonprofit fundraising. It was not in chambers of commerce. So when I started in this job, I had said I'd been an ambassador. Then I got hired on as the membership director. And then the CEO that was in the position at that time left the chamber. And we were just kind of in a holding pattern for a few months. And the board approached me and asked me to be the CEO. And I thought, oh my goodness. Okay, well, this is a challenge. So my view of Yuba-Sutter, my view on this community has grown and changed dramatically since starting at the Chamber of Commerce. And we just started a new gal, Kristen Perry, our new membership and marketing coordinator. And I just told her, I said, and I'm kind of biased, but this has been the best job that I've ever had, just because of the position that the chamber has to get to know so many people and businesses in the community. And I said, your social life will expand exponentially. And we did a post with, welcome Kristen to the chamber. And she said she had so many friend requests that evening from it. She said, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for here? And she said, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to go anywhere and not be noticed by somebody? I said, probably not anymore. But I love that about being part of the chamber and part of Yuba-Sutter. We're a small town, yet we are growing. We are a bigger town. We've got a lot of the amenities, but there's still a small town feel. And maybe it's this community within a community. I think there's this core group of community members that, that rule of 10% of the people do 90% of the work. I think it's kind of the same in this. You see all the same people at all the same events and doing all the same things. It's that community within the community that cares so much about the area and is always working so diligently to protect it and help it to prosper. And we get to be part of that. And I think it's just such a pleasure and such a gift.
What's the thing that seems to be the biggest challenge for our area?
Biggest challenge. I think one of our bigger challenges is that notion of Yuba-Sutter not having much to offer. We talk about losing our young people because they don't want to stay in Yuba-Sutter because there's more out there in the world. And how do we keep our young people in Yuba-Sutter and have those jobs available for them and livable wages and things like that. I don't think we're different than a lot of smaller communities that struggle with that. But being one of those young people that left and came back, maybe that's okay, we do need to kind of see what else is out there. But it certainly has helped me to appreciate coming home and being back in this community. But I see that as a challenge, and these young people, they leave because they don't necessarily see that there are job opportunities and for them. I think there are. I think that young people often have an idea of what they want to do, and it can be limited sometimes because parents want to send their kids to four-year schools, and you've got this short list of doctor, lawyer, whatever those careers are. But there's so many more opportunities, career and technical education. And you can get a degree in a short amount of time or a certificate, and you can be in a great job with a livable wage. And we have those jobs here too. And so, how do we make those connections and keep our young folks here?
On the other side of the scale, what do you think has been the biggest recent success for Yuba-Sutter?
Well, boy, that's a good question. For Yuba-Sutter, well, I think we have lots of great things going on in Yuba-Sutter. I think we all were challenged during COVID. The pandemic it really put a strain on our community, on our businesses. Obviously, that extends beyond the Yuba-Sutter area. But we're coming out of it now, and we're seeing some growth and development. I was just at a Government Affairs Committee meeting this morning that the Chamber hosts, and our city mayor was there, and he was talking about over 600 homes. Like, they're being built. I mean, the paperwork's done. They are going up. I mean, we had years where it was, 25 homes being built. So development is growing. Over in Yuba County, Yuba Water Agency and all of the work that they're doing with helping with infrastructure, and Hard Rock Hotel and Casino going in, and the development that's happening around that. I think there's a lot of good growth going on in the community, and it's exciting to see. And despite how difficult it's been for the past 2 years, it's really great to see that happening.
Yeah, Gary Bradford, supervisor who represents the area for Plumas Lake and Wheatland, was pointing out to somebody on one of his Facebook pages during a discussion the other day that there's something like 500 more homes going into that area in the next
and they do
12 months or something like that. That area is growing leaps and bounds. Somebody else was asking me or mentioning that at some point, and you and I have talked about this at a Marysville Business Alliance meeting the other day, about sustainability, that when you do things, you need to be planning in the sustainability of how are you going to do that. I was interested to see that the mayor in Marysville last night was asking some questions, and several other people were, about how to sustain certain things as they look at their general land use plan and specific plan for the city of Marysville. Marysville's been landlocked for many years. It's been protection, but it's also limited how it can grow.
Sure,
there's talk of a variety of things in order to be able to bring more economic strength. But it's interesting to see what's being said at different city council meetings and some of the new things that are happening. For example, you and I were talking before the show about the Yuba City contract with Sci-Fi Networks to bring fiber optic to homes and businesses by simply slitting a trench down the curbside. We were able to see some videos of that last night when the same kind of an agreement was presented to the city of Marysville, and Marysville has agreed to go allow them to do the same thing. So there will be a little bit of money going to the city over a period of time, but what seems to be happening is gigabit Ethernet, or even faster because it's fiber optic, is coming to the area. So people who may be able to work from home but need a high-speed pipeline could go to get schooling somewhere and come back and live here.
Well, sure.
And work.
Yeah, well, and that's all that, talking about infrastructure and, having that infrastructure in place so we can attract development and business and keep growing. And so, and all the jurisdictions are paying attention to that, and we are growing in those ways. And it's great to hear, and it's great to see, for sure.
So, sustainability, what is needed to sustain some of these things that are just beginning? For example, there's a film commission that the Chamber has been working on. This is the second film commission that the Chamber's had an opportunity to try to get going. The last one was started with grant funding. and when the grant funding ran out, so did it. And we've seen other circumstances where grant funding, things like that, have come in. The funding runs out. The ability to provide that service goes away.
Sure.
As a fundraiser, as a nonprofit oriented person, somebody who's had some experience and strengths with that, what do you do to keep things sustained?
Sure. Well, and I can just talk about the example of the Film Commission since you brought it up. And I do understand that there was an attempt at a film commission before, and so I don't know all of the details on how that was brought forward and what that funding source was. I actually wasn't aware that there was a funding source. I thought it was a volunteer-driven effort at the time. So with this particular effort, the chamber reached out and got involved with the 4 jurisdictions: Sutter, Yuba County, and the cities of Marysville and the city of Yuba City, as well as the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association. Got together with them and talked about the plan to bring a film commission, and they have all invested in doing this. And my message to them was and is that this is, if this is an organization, if this is an effort that our community wants, then our jurisdictions will support that effort, and they will invest in it. And the return on that investment is what we need to show to them in the coming years, that it is worth that investment every year. I have researched film commissions in other communities, and they are typically funded by the jurisdictions in which they operate. And so that's our approach. And it is, our job as we build this film commission to go back to the jurisdictions and show them that value, that it is, we are attracting film to the area, that these film productions, when they're coming, they're spending money, and so there's a dollar value to that, and to show that their investment is making a difference. So, I mean, it's the ball's in our court in that respect to show that, to create that sustainability for the program. But it also takes a commitment by all parties to kind of hang in there, because it's going to take some time to build that, and have faith that, and it's just like investing in anything. There's a bit of a risk, and there is a bit of a risk with this, but I think it is something worth taking. We have lots of good anecdotal stories to share on how film commissions have been very successful in other communities, and why can't that be the same for ours if we do this right?
Absolutely. I was just hearing and talking with some people that used to live here. One gentleman, he's in Sacramento, but comes back, loves the area, still connected in that regard. We were on a trip to Fresno and got to talking with somebody he's brought into a production he's working on, who was up in Placerville working long hours in the set design and set decoration department, supplying props and other things for production that was blowing up cars and having chases and doing other things in Placerville. So there are people who live and work here, or live here and are working in productions around the area. Matthew Tomozik is one person, Garage Studio, that I think would love to be able to do the same kinds of things here. And our area has a very wide range of potential looks, and could be, used for a variety of things by different production companies, or maybe even better, a television series that pops into town and stays for over a period of time for several seasons.
Yeah.
So,
well, and you and I have talked about it. There's Yellowstone. That production brought over $80 million to Utah. Just that series alone. So, I mean, that's significant. that would be amazing. But we'll start small. In fact, this weekend we are working on putting together a promotional video to start reaching out to the film industry. And we're starting to catalog some of those unique aspects of the Yuba-Sutter area. So I don't have the time frame on it, but we're building the website, and that catalog will be available there. And hopefully we'll have a component where people can contribute also to that catalog as we travel around in our days in Yuba-Sutter, and we can take pictures and help to build out that catalog. But I'm really excited. The project has started. We got fully funded for the first year to get off and running, and so here we go. And
you're working with an experienced film commissioner.
Yes.
Who's trying to do something on a regional basis for all of Northern California.
Correct.
So, you know, and there is a good reason, I think, to do that, because you are able to provide a wider range of looks or opportunities for film production companies.
Right. And, you know, signing on with its Upstate Film Commission, partnering with them, really just, you know, puts us ahead of the game. So this film commissioner is helping us, is already working on our behalf. You know, she just attended a film festival, and she attends trade shows, excuse me, and she's already, you know, she actually contacted me last week and was looking for a specific kind of location as film industry folks contact her. So she's incorporated our area into that area that she's working with. So it's already in progress. And the idea is by year 3, we will have a fully operational film commission. Training wheels will be off. We'll have a film commissioner in Yuba-Sutter working on our behalf.
And that's people think Hollywood is very glamorous. I've had an opportunity to supply from here, and with the assistance of some other people who also have vintage television equipment, things for a couple of Netflix productions. If you've watched Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, some of the television gear came from there. The edit suite in particular. We've also supplied some equipment through another business that we have called Zinn VTR Works. My colleague Ken Zinn up in Magalia refurbished, and we shipped to Pennsylvania equipment that was used in Archive 81, which is another Netflix production that's streaming now. Just came out a couple months ago. So it's possible to do some things from here that are involved in the film community, maybe on a peripheral basis, but the money can be good if you've got the right stuff going on. And it seems like there are a lot of, with streaming going on and with the different studios investing in networks, it's possible that we have smaller budget productions that will be able to make use of Yuba and Sutter counties and what's here, because it's a little more affordable.
It is, and a lot of the industry is looking for communities like ours because of that affordability factor, and so now I think is really a great timing for us to get going on this, as our film industry community is. They're moving out of the Hollywood scene and wanting to find inexpensive ways to do their filming.
And the area also is going to be hosting some athletic activities that have migrated up from Sacramento because of COVID last year. They could not get access to the facilities that they've used for the last 13 years. And so the Cali Bowl, or the California Bowl, is bringing people in coming up in November. It's the weekend after Thanksgiving, happening over a 3-day period. There are teams coming in from Hawaii, Washington State, Reno, as well as the Sacramento and San Joaquin areas. And I think if Brent Gray is able to get everything all lined up, which he's working on doing, we may have 40 different teams from a bunch of different places. So we're hoping that I'm working with him on the live streaming part, and we're hoping that the hotel that's now being constructed, the Holiday Inn Express on what used to be the Feather River Mills property, is finished by then. They're building it up. So
it's amazing how quickly those buildings will go up.
Yeah. Well, the area's got some challenges, but it also has some things that are happening.
It does, but I think that is true for every community. We've got good things and some challenges, but overall, I think we're doing really well as a community. In particular, after COVID. Can we say after COVID?
Well, I hope so. Let's. I don't know. Is this real wood here?
I think so.
Something.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, I think we're all hoping that COVID is over, but we also are kind of keeping that infrastructure that was developed in place, so that people can continue to do what they need to do in the event that it surges back again. We hope that doesn't happen.
Well, yeah. And lessons have been learned. So.
Yeah. One of the interesting things that's happened out of this is that government meetings have become much more accessible.
This is true. See, there are some silver linings, I guess. Yes. Well, meetings in general can be more accessible, right?
And I hope that people are watching some of the government meetings that we've been restreaming, because there's all kinds of interesting things that relate to what Marni and I have been talking about that are developing in Yuba-Sutter. And if you want to know what's going on, it's very simple to just tune in Tuesday nights or Tuesday morning if you're dealing with Yuba Water Agency or Yuba County Supervisors. Sutter County Supervisors 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, and then depending on what you're dealing with at 5:30 or 6 o'clock on Tuesday evenings, you can get a school board update from Marysville or Yuba City Unified School Districts by watching meetings there. You can also see what's going on with Marysville and Yuba City councils. And there is a whole bunch of things going on. We're going to be talking about some of those things, and because there are important things that people may have missed, we're going to be sectioning out some of the meetings and pulling them out as separate things and replaying them for you to see, and adding some context and some illustrations to help people better understand what's going on. It's and all of that is a result of having been live streaming from City Hall in Marysville. And then, geez, suddenly can't do that anymore. Everybody goes to Zoom. So it's been, how do you regroup and go from there? Mm-hmm. So, any further thoughts about Yuba-Sutter, the Chamber?
Well, I will just say that, I'm just really thrilled to be part of the Chamber and be part of this community. And I think we have lots of opportunities in Yuba-Sutter, and it's really so heartening to see throughout the pandemic and then coming out on the other side how resilient our community is, and how we just really stuck together in so many ways. And it's such a pleasure to be part of this, and I hope I get to stick around and continue to work on behalf of the business community, and we're looking forward to doing new and better things and growing it as an organization ourselves, and always trying to figure out how to do that. Sometimes it feels like 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, but we're not giving up. We're going to keep on trucking, for sure. And
we're moving you around here remotely.
Oh.
Yeah, we can do panning and tilting over here. It's just
don't pan and tilt me, Ted. Come on.
The show is Lunch with Langdell, but I swear, except for our inaugural show with Dan Flores and Heredia,
there's no lunch involved.
Yeah, it's just kind of developed that way. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's just we seem to have not ended up in places where there's food being served. But that's one other thing. There's a lot of new restaurants and food experiences like food trucks that have been developing around here. And that's...
yeah, we see them more
and
more. we see them more and more. Well, and I would like to say we do have a vendor fair on April 30th, and we're looking for vendors, so including food vendors. So we'd love to hear from them if they have any interest. We're doing it here in our parking lot.
Great.
And we hope to have just under 30 vendors is what we can fit out here in the parking lot.
Marvelous. If you can, from memory, rattle off some of the things that the Chamber's got going on in the next 30 days.
Okay. Well, I know we've got, so go to Yuba-Sutter-Chamber.com under our events calendar. We've got a number of ribbon cuttings and business after hours going on. I do want to mention our candidate forums. We have one on April 25th at Boyd Hall, which is on Klamath Boulevard. Feather River Academy, most people might know. That'll be our Sutter County side. So we'll have the supervisors race, District 2, and then the DA. Those will both be highlighted at that candidate forum. April 25th, 6 p.m. April 27th at 6 p.m. at the Yuba County Government Center will be the Yuba County races. So we've got the two district supervisors, Districts 1 and 5. And then we have the superintendent of schools and the county clerk and the Yuba Water Agency South Division. I can't believe I remembered all that.
And why should people be watching?
People should be watching that, and you can attend in person. It gives you an opportunity to meet the candidates, to understand where they stand on specific issues, and really educate yourselves before you get out and vote. It's very important. And we do have the questions prior to the candidate forums, but there is an opportunity for citizens to submit questions if they'd like. We will be live streaming it, so they can watch live stream and comment there. The Appeal Democrat will be requesting questions in advance, probably the week before the events. They'll put that out in the paper, and then the Chamber will be posting that as well if folks want to ask specific questions about candidates.
And you'll have Bob Harlan and the Appeals relatively recent addition as editor, Robert
Suma.
Suma.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they'll be our moderators. And yeah.
This time it'll be the Bob and Bob Show?
The Bob and Bob Show. I don't know. I'm not referred to Robert as Bob yet, so we'll see how that flies.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate your time here.
Yeah, thank you.
And I hope that things continue on merrily, happening and developing here in Yuba-Sutter. That's part of why we're doing what we're doing here, is to let people see a little bit more about what is taking place.
Yep. I appreciate that. It's amazing all the things that are taking place. I learn something new every day, so I'm glad you're doing this. It's helpful.
All right. Well, we have been live from the Madden House in Yuba City, which is located on the corner of Franklin Road and Highway 99, on Stott Road back in the day. The Little John House has been around for quite a while, and it looks like it's going to be around for a little while to come. You have been watching Lunch with Langdell right here on Live Streaming YS and Yuba-Sutter.live.